The galactic research ship Starweaver hung motionless in the darkness of space, its sleek silver hull reflecting the distant light of Earth's sun. Through the ship's observation windows, the blue planet below seemed peaceful and ordinary. Chief Scientist Han stood at his command station, his tall, slender frame casting a shadow over the holographic displays that filled the room with a soft blue glow. 3 orbital cycles, Han muttered to himself, his 4-fingered hand moving through the data streams. 3 cycles, and still nothing remarkable. The ship had been stationed above Earth for what humans would consider 9 months, collecting data on every aspect of the planet's dominant species. Research Assistant Jin moved quietly through the laboratory section, her scaled skin shimmering under the ambient lighting. She was younger than most of her colleagues, having earned her position through exceptional talent rather than years of service. "Chief Han," she called out, "the latest atmospheric readings are complete. The humans continue to pump carbon dioxide into their atmosphere at alarming rates." Director Lee entered the observation deck, his crystalline eyes reflecting the holographic displays like mirrors. Unlike his colleagues, Lee had spent decades studying emerging civilizations. Something about the humans troubled him, though he couldn't quite identify what it was. "Show me the survival statistics again," Lee ordered, his voice carrying the weight of authority. Jin quickly brought up the requested data, filling the air with glowing charts and graphs. "Look here," Lee pointed to a cluster of data points. "These readings can't be correct. Run them again." Jin rechecked the numbers, her eyes widening. "The readings are accurate, Director. Humans are surviving in temperatures ranging from -40 degrees to +50 degrees Celsius, without any technological assistance in many cases." Han moved closer to examine the data. "That's impossible. No species can adapt to such extreme variations without genetic modification or advanced environmental suits." "And yet they do," Lee said quietly. "Not just survive, but thrive. Look at their population distribution." He waved his hand, bringing up a global map. "They live in frozen wastelands near their poles, in burning deserts, in dense jungles, high in the mountains where the air is thin, and deep in valleys below sea level." The research team gathered around the displays, their previous dismissal of humanity giving way to growing curiosity. They watched recordings of humans rebuilding after natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, volcanic eruptions. Where other species might abandon such dangerous regions, humans simply built stronger structures and returned. "Show them the endurance tests," Lee commanded. Jin brought up another set of data, this time showing human physical capabilities. "They don't stop," she explained, her voice filled with a mixture of awe and concern. "When most species reach their physical limits, they stop. Humans, they keep going. They push through pain, through exhaustion, through conditions that should be lethal." Han studied the medical data with growing unease. "Their healing capabilities are extraordinary as well. They recover from injuries that would be fatal to most species. Their bones knit back together stronger than before. Their muscles rebuild themselves after damage. They adapt to almost any challenge their environment presents." Director Lee walked to the main observation window, gazing down at the planet below. "And look at their learning curve. Every failure, every disaster, every setback. They learn from it. They improve. They develop new solutions. No other species we studied shows this level of adaptability." "Should we revise our initial assessment?" Jin asked, already knowing the answer. Lee nodded slowly. "Delete the previous reports. All of them. We need to start over." He turned to face his team, his crystalline eyes now filled with concern. "We made a serious error in our initial judgment. These humans, they're not primitive at all. They're something else entirely." Han looked up from his displays. "What should I put in the new report?" "The truth," Lee replied. "That we have discovered a species that defies our understanding of biological and social evolution. A species that not only survives but flourishes in conditions that should be impossible. A species that turns failure into advancement, that adapts to any challenge, that refuses to accept limitations. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. And most importantly, warned the Confederation that if humans can achieve this much while still burning fossil fuels, we need to be very, very careful about what they might become once they advance further. The research team worked through the night cycle, documenting everything they had previously overlooked. The human capacity for survival, their incredible adaptability, their mysterious ability to exceed their own physical limitations, it all painted a picture that was both fascinating and frightening. As the Earth turned slowly below them, Director Lee made one final entry in his personal log. "We came here expecting to find another primitive species. Instead, we may have discovered the most dangerous form of life in the galaxy. A species that doesn't understand the concept of impossible." Ambassador Sung stood on the bridge of her flagship, Peacemaker, watching Earth grow larger in the main display. Her silver-white diplomatic robes rustled softly as she reviewed the first contact protocols one final time. After 17 successful first contacts with other civilizations, she felt confident in her ability to handle these humans. "All ships in position," reported Captain Min from his command station. The diplomatic fleet of 5 ships had arranged themselves in a ceremonial formation above the city humans called Geneva. No aggressive movements detected from Earth's military forces. Sung nodded approvingly. "Send the greeting message as planned. In all languages we've decoded." Her translator implant hummed quietly, ready to handle any communication challenges. Security Chief Quan approached with his final assessment. "The landing zone appears secure, Ambassador. Human security forces are present, but their weapons are ceremonial. Standard protocols should be sufficient." The landing went smoothly. 3 shuttlecraft descended through Earth's atmosphere, carrying the diplomatic team to the designated meeting point, a large open square surrounded by tall buildings. Hundreds of humans gathered behind security barriers, watching with obvious curiosity and excitement. Sung led her team down the shuttle's ramp, her head held high. The warm sunlight felt pleasant on her scaled skin. Human diplomats waited at the bottom, dressed in what she recognized as their formal attire. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. Then everything went wrong. A small human child, barely tall enough to see over the security barrier, raised its hand in an excited greeting. The motion was quick, enthusiastic, and completely misinterpreted by Officer Quan's threat assessment systems. "Threat detected," Quan shouted, his defensive field activating with a blue shimmer. It was a standard precautionary measure, harmless but impressive looking. What happened next would change the Confederation's understanding of humans forever. The human security personnel reacted with speed that shouldn't have been possible. A woman in a formal suit grabbed her chair and snapped off its leg in one fluid motion, creating an improvised club. A man removed his belt so quickly it seemed to vanish from his waist, turning the metal buckle into a potential weapon. Another stripped off his tie, his hands moving to hold it in a way that could be used for strangling. "Stand down," Sung shouted, but the chaos had already begun. More humans were arming themselves with whatever they could find. Pens were gripped like daggers. Tablets and phones became potential projectiles. Even decorative items from the welcome table were suddenly being held in ways that made their harmful potential obvious. Most shocking was the transformation in the humans themselves. The peaceful, smiling diplomats had instantly shifted into combat-ready stances. Their faces showed focused determination. Even the ones who hadn't armed themselves had moved into positions that maximized their tactical advantages. "Impossible," Quan whispered, his sensor readings going wild. "Their threat response time. It's faster than our best-trained warriors. And they're not even military personnel." Sung raised her hand slowly, speaking in clear, calm tones. "This is a misunderstanding. We mean no harm." Officer Quan was simply startled by the child's movement. The tension held for several more seconds before the human diplomats began to stand down. The improvised weapons were set aside, friendly smiles returned, and apologies were exchanged on both sides. But some noticed that none of the humans completely relaxed. They maintained subtle awareness of their surroundings and potential escape routes. Later, aboard the Peacemaker, Sung called an emergency meeting with her staff. "What we witnessed today changes everything," she began, looking at each team member. "These humans, they're different from any species we've encountered." Quan displayed his sensor readings. Their transition from diplomatic mode to combat readiness took less than 1 second. That's faster than our best-trained warriors. And these were diplomats, not soldiers. More concerning, added cultural specialist Hai, is their ability to weaponize ordinary objects. They don't think in terms of designated weapons. To them, everything is a potential tool for survival or combat. Sung nodded gravely. "We need to update all our protocols. The standard approach won't work with humans. They're too unpredictable, too quick to adapt, too ready to fight if threatened." She turned to her communications officer. "Send a priority message to the Confederation Council. Tell them we need new guidelines for human interaction. And add this warning. Every human, regardless of their role or status, should be considered a potential warrior. They don't switch between peaceful and combat modes like other species. They exist in both states simultaneously." As the message was sent, Sung walked to her private quarters. She picked up a simple pen from her desk, identical to the ones the human diplomats had been ready to use as weapons. For the first time in her long career, she felt genuine unease about a first-contact mission. "We thought we were ready for anything," she murmured to herself. "We were wrong. The humans are teaching us that we still have much to learn about what's possible." Admiral Song stood in the darkened war room, his eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the battle for New Terra. Around him, other military officials watched in silence as the scene unfolded. What should have been a quick victory for the Drachnid forces had turned into something none of them could have predicted. "Play the recording from the beginning," Song ordered, his voice tight with concern. The scene reset, showing the initial Drachnid attack on the human colony. The Drachnids had chosen their moment well. New Terra was a young colony, barely defended, with only a small militia force. The attack came at local midnight, when most colonists were sleeping. Standard invasion tactics that had worked countless times before. "Watch closely," Song told his staff. "See how the humans react to the first wave." Instead of panicking or surrendering as expected, the colonists organized faster than anyone thought possible. Within minutes of the first alarms, they had turned their mining equipment into makeshift weapons. Construction vehicles became mobile artillery. Farming tools became anti-infantry weapons. "These people are civilians," commented General Bay, shaking his head in disbelief. "They have no military training. This shouldn't be possible." The recording continued. The Drachnids pushed forward, using their superior numbers and technology to force the humans back. But each retreat seemed to make the humans more dangerous, not less. "Look here," Song pointed to a section of the battle. The humans appeared to be abandoning this defensive position. The hologram showed a group of colonists falling back from a hill they had been defending. "Standard tactics," said General Bay. "Preserve forces when defeat is certain. Keep watching." The Drachnids moved forward to claim the hill. Suddenly, the entire area erupted in explosions. The humans had turned their retreat into an elaborate trap, sacrificing valuable mining explosives to inflict heavy casualties on their attackers. "They do this repeatedly," Song explained. "Every defeat becomes a trap. Every retreat becomes an ambush. They don't think like soldiers. They think like survivors." The recording showed more battles. Humans using their knowledge of local weather patterns to ambush Drachnid forces during storms. Colonists reprogramming farming robots to deliver medical supplies under enemy fire. Children acting as messengers because the Drachnids wouldn't expect it. "Now watch this," Song said quietly. "This is what truly concerns me." The hologram showed a group of humans breaking formation, abandoning tactical advantages to rescue wounded companions. By all military logic, it was suicide. But somehow, they not only succeeded but turned the rescue mission into yet another opportunity to strike at the enemy. They prioritize saving their wounded, Bay observed. A weakness. Song shook his head. No, a strength. Every rescued human returns to fight harder. They become more determined, more dangerous, and they share what they've learned about fighting the Drachnids. The recording shifted to show the final battles. The Drachnids, despite their superior technology and numbers, found themselves facing an enemy that seemed to grow stronger with each defeat. The humans had learned to jam Drachnid communications, predict their attack patterns, and exploit weaknesses in their armor that even the Drachnids didn't know existed. This is the most crucial part, Song said, freezing the recording. By all logic, the humans should have surrendered here. They were outgunned, outnumbered, and exhausted. Instead, he resumed playback. The humans launched a counterattack that made no strategic sense, until it succeeded spectacularly. They had studied the Drachnid patterns so well that they could predict exactly where their enemies would be vulnerable. The final casualty counts are most telling. Song continued. The Drachnids lost 60% of their invasion force against farmers and miners, with mining tools and repurposed farming equipment. The room was silent as the implications sank in. Finally, General Bay spoke. How do we fight an enemy that grows stronger when we hurt them? That learns from every defeat. That turns their own retreats into victories. We don't, Song replied firmly. That's what I'm reporting to the Council. The humans don't just fight. They adapt. They don't just adapt. They evolve. And most importantly, they remember. Everything we use against them becomes a lesson they learn from. He turned off the hologram, leaving the room in darkness. My final recommendation to the Council will be clear. Never start a war with humans. They don't know how to lose. They only know how to learn and come back stronger. And they will remember everything we taught them about how to fight us. As the military leaders filed out of the room, Song added one final note to his report. The humans have a saying. What doesn't kill them makes them stronger. We now understand this isn't just a saying. It's a warning. Dr. Nam stood in her brightly lit laboratory on Alpha Centauri Station, surrounded by holographic displays showing human DNA sequences and evolutionary patterns. After 5 years of intensive research, she had finally discovered something that changed everything they thought they knew about humans. Run the simulation again, she told her assistant, Dr. Yoon. The air filled with a 3-dimensional display of human evolutionary history, starting from their earliest ancestors millions of years ago. Look here, Nam pointed to a specific point in the timeline. This is where humans become different from every other species we've studied. The display showed early humans, living in groups, both hunting and being hunted. Dr. Yoon adjusted his viewing lenses. But many species evolved as prey animals, and some as predators. What makes humans special? Nam smiled, her eyes bright with excitement. That's just it. Other species evolved as either predator or prey. Lions evolved as hunters. Deer evolved as the hunted. But humans. She expanded the display, showing multiple evolutionary paths. Humans evolved as both at the same time. The laboratory team gathered around as Nam explained her discovery. Humans were never the strongest predators. They weren't the fastest prey. They were somewhere in between, and this forced them to develop in unique ways. She brought up new displays showing human brain scans. See these patterns. When humans face danger, they don't just think like prey animals looking to escape. They don't just think like predators looking to fight. They think like both at once. That doesn't make sense, one of the younger researchers said. How can a species be both? Nam walked to another display showing human behavior patterns, because they had to be. As prey, they developed intense emotional bonds, group loyalty, and the ability to sense danger. As predators, they developed problem-solving skills, tool use, and the ability to plan ahead. She showed recordings from various human conflicts and challenges. Watch how they react to threats. They can switch instantly between fighting and fleeing. They can be cautious and aggressive at the same time. They can think about running away while planning an attack. Dr. Yoon studied the data carefully. Their emotional responses, we always thought those were a weakness. We were wrong, Nam replied. Those emotions they feel so strongly, fear, love, anger, they're not weaknesses at all. Fear makes them cautious when needed. Love makes them protect each other fiercely. Anger makes them fight harder than any logical species would. The displays shifted to show human problem-solving tests. Look at how they approach challenges. They can think like prey, looking for escape routes, hiding places, ways to survive. But at the same time, they think like predators, looking for weaknesses, planning attacks, figuring out how to win. Nam brought up the final piece of evidence: brain scans of humans in various situations. This is the most amazing part. When humans face a crisis, both sets of instincts work together. They can be scared and brave at the same time. They can run away while planning to come back stronger. They can give up an advantage to save a friend, then turn that seeming weakness into a victory. The laboratory fell silent as the implications became clear. Dr. Yoon was the first to speak. This explains why they're so unpredictable, why they don't follow logical patterns. Exactly, Nam agreed. To us, their behavior seems illogical because we're trying to understand it as either predator or prey. But humans are both. They can retreat and advance at the same time. They can be peaceful and dangerous in the same moment. She prepared her final report for the council. Their greatest strength isn't their technology, or their adaptability, or even their determination. It's their duality. They understand both sides of the survival equation. They know what it means to be hunted, so they learn from everything that threatens them. They know what it means to be hunters, so they never stop looking for ways to overcome challenges. The report concluded with a warning. We must understand that humans will always surprise us. When we think they'll run, they might fight. When we think they'll fight, they might run. But whatever they do, they'll learn from it, adapt, and come back stronger. Because that's what happens when a species evolves to be both predator and prey. They never stop learning how to survive. As she sent the report to the council, Nam added one final note. The humans have a saying: know your enemy and know yourself. They understand this better than any species we've encountered, because every human knows both the hunter and the hunted within themselves. This isn't just their nature, it's their greatest strength. The lights in the laboratory dimmed as the day cycle ended, but the displays continued to show the dual nature of humanity. A species that had evolved to understand both the hunter and the hunted, and in doing so, had become something entirely new in the galaxy. The Great Hall of the Confederation fell silent as Grand Council member Kim took his place at the speaking platform. The vast chamber held representatives from 200 different species, each waiting to hear the Council's final decision about humanity. The massive crystal walls reflected the light from countless stars visible through the transparent dome above. Kim looked at the assembled beings, some with scales, others with fur, some floating in special environment tanks, others perched on anti-gravity cushions. All of them had come to hear about humans. For 10,000 years, Kim began, his voice carrying clearly through the translator fields, the Confederation has studied new species. We thought we understood how life evolves. We thought we knew what to expect. He paused, letting his words sink in. We were wrong. Holographic displays activated around the hall, showing scenes from humanity's brief but intense interaction with the galactic community. The first contact incident in Geneva, the defense of New Terra, the countless examples of human unpredictability. Look at these recordings, Kim continued. See how humans defy every pattern we thought we understood. When we expect them to run, they fight. When we expect them to fight, they find a different solution entirely. They turn weaknesses into strengths. They learn from every failure. The displays showed humans adapting alien technology in ways its creators never imagined. Humans solving problems that had stumped other species for centuries. humans surviving in conditions that should have killed them. We feared the unknown, Kim said, his voice growing stronger. That was natural. Fear of the unknown is what kept many of our species alive. But now we face something far more challenging. We fear what we know about humans. He brought up Dr. Nam's research, showing how humans had evolved as both predator and prey. This is not just another species joining our community. This is something new, something we've never seen before. The displays shifted to show human achievements since joining the galactic community. They had already improved Confederation medical techniques, enhanced space travel efficiency, and developed new ways to terraform hostile planets. In just 5 years, Kim noted, humans have contributed more innovations than some species have in centuries. They see problems differently. They find solutions we never imagined. And most importantly, they never stop learning, never stop improving. The Council's decision appeared on all screens. Kim read it aloud. As of today, humanity is classified as a guardian species of the Confederation. This special status has only been granted twice before in our history. Murmurs spread through the hall. Many representatives shifted nervously in their seats. This classification means several things, Kim explained. First, any act of aggression against human worlds will be considered an attack on the entire Confederation. Second, human representatives will be added to all major council committees. Third, human innovation and problem-solving methods will be studied and shared throughout the Confederation. He paused, looking at each section of the hall. But most importantly, this classification carries a warning. Humans are too dangerous to provoke. They learn from every conflict and come back stronger. They are too valuable to ignore. Their unique way of thinking solves problems we thought impossible, and they are too unpredictable to fully understand. They will always surprise us. The final displays showed the official advisory being added to the Confederation archives. Simple words that carried enormous weight. Approach with respect. Engage with caution. Never underestimate. Kim concluded his address. Some of you may wonder why we fear humans when we are technologically superior. The answer is simple. Humans don't care about superior force. They don't accept impossible odds. They don't follow the rules of what should or shouldn't be possible. Every time we think we understand their limits, they prove us wrong. The Great Hall remained silent as Kim stepped down from the platform. The new protocols were transmitted to every world in the Confederation. A new era had begun, one where humanity's unique nature would help shape the future of the galaxy. In the archives, one final note was added to humanity's file. They are not what we expected. They are not what we feared they might be. They are something we never imagined possible. A species that combines the wisdom of the prey with the strength of the predator, and the determination to never stop growing stronger.